Hi, this is BB from clutterclearinglifecoaching.com, and today I want to focus briefly making a short video of when we tend to have too many fantasies or a big fantasy and we are not taking whatever necessary steps that we should be taking to make that fantasy a reality. It's great to fantasize. It's great to have an overall picture, a vision, if you were, of what you want. And it's good to make that vision loud, bold, compelling. So compelling that all the forces around you, everything that is positive and true and loving in the universe conspires to provide you with the action steps to take to make this fantasy become a reality for you. Because if you can dream it, you can do it. If you can envision it, you can build it. If you can see it in your mind, then you can have it in your hands. This is how life works. A lot of people give up too quickly. But this is why they're life coaches, this is why they're motivation coaches, this is why they're therapists and counselors, to help get you back on the path. Because sometimes we all need a little help. We just get tired, worn out, we lose our vision. And when we lose our vision, we have nothing to look forward to, which means we do even less than what we would normally do. But let's focus today on the fantasy and action steps to make that fantasy into a reality. Now, you have the fantasy, but what you want to do is you want to put the fantasy, bring it down and put it into a reality. When you put the fantasy into a reality, then you're going to take action steps now. There's actual things that you have to do, like movement from point A to point B, like doing something, making a phone call. Let's say that you have a business and you're not getting clients and you have to actually make a couple of cold calling and you don't do it. You're afraid to do it. You fantasize all the time of having people call you and you're actually having a thriving business, but it may take for you to actually do some cold calling. Call a few friends. Well, this is my new practice, this is what I'm doing, this is my new job. Do you know anyone who would need a counselor or a life coach or a therapist or somebody, or something? Or this is my new mechanic shop. Do you have anybody? This is what I'm offering, a discount of 30% off the first 10 vehicles that come in here. You may have to do a little work. You have to put some actual legwork into it, even if it's just a phone call or speaking with someone face to face. Because it's good to have the fantasy, but what's more important is putting in the work that it takes to build that fantasy into a reality. So you bring it down from fantasy and you fit it into reality, and when it comes together, it's a beautiful picture. Because if the reality is now the fantasy, you have made it, you have arrived. Well, you haven't arrived. It's a process. Because after that, then you want to build a bigger business. You want to have if it's a marriage you're looking for, you get married. Now you want to have kids. You want to move in the country. You want, life is just a smorgasbord as it goes along. There's always something to strive for. Always something to reach for. Always something to expound upon and expand upon. There's always something else. And as long as it's healthy and it's good and it's fulfilling for you, by all means, go for it. But at this present time, for those of you who are having a problem, you have the vision, but you tend to do less actual work, like just doing one or two things a day to have this vision become reality. It's going to be pointless in the end. Now, there are coaches out there who will tell you, law of attraction coaches will tell you just have the vision and it'll just solidify around you. And yes, that happens, but you have to be a really released person for that to happen. You have to have minimal resistance to what you're visualizing. Like if you visualize money, you will have to be released at least over 50% on receiving that money effortlessly that you're envisioning. It's not that easy. Releasing is one of the greatest tools, I believe, that just is so underrated. It's so underrated, and a lot of people don't understand what releasing is. And I wish that I could tell everyone what releasing is, because everyone should have this healthy, practical tool at their fingertips. This is my personal belief. Children should be doing this, which I do believe that I think EFT or the Sedona method is being incorporated into schools and into colleges now, I believe. So as I think an accredited course, I'm not sure, which is great, because this is what's going to build the minds of tomorrow. Kids are now going to be growing up to have that balance within them. They're going to see things differently. They're going to find their humanity coming out, and it's going to be a great tomorrow. So, with that being said, when you find that you're having a fantasy, and these are great, mind you, they keep us on our toes. They keep us having something to strive for. It's great. But what's even better is the reality. The reality. Let the fantasy fit into the reality, because then you have no choice but to take the action steps to get this done. And once you start doing that, everything will start falling into place. Because if you envision it and it's clear and it's precise what you're asking for, what you want for yourself, what you're seeing, what you're visioning, what this clear, compelling visual you have of what this would be like. And that is great. But if you just visualize and do nothing, not even release whatever resistance you might have to not having this thing, it's going to be almost impossible. And then you're going to say, well, this doesn't work, and you chuck it. There are steps in everything that you have to take. There's always practical steps, no matter what you do. If you have to say a prayer, most people, they have to put their hands together, or at least bow their heads, or close their eyes, or something to say a prayer. There's always something you have to do. Even if it's just keep your eyes open and be silent for a moment. Even if you inwardly hear the voice of your own heart, something you have to do. You have to take some action steps. This is a physical reality, and it requires our physical touches, our physical voice, our physical eyes seeing things, hearing things. This is the beauty part of life. You have to do something physical. You have to take some action step towards getting what you want. So let us do a bit of tapping, a basic tapping round of when we're fantasizing too much, but we're not taking the appropriate action. To just free up the energy to see what's under the hood, what's just at the first level of resistance. The resistance being reasons why we don't want this fantasy to become a reality, that we are thinking, yes, we want this great fantasy, but we have a reason that's blocking us from taking the appropriate action. And it just kind of lives and dies in this fantasy stage. But we don't want that, right? So let's do something about it. So follow along on the karate chop. Even though I have this fantasy, and I'm really not doing much about it, I choose to deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have a fantasy, something that I've wanted for a long time is presenting itself to me. But I'm having a difficult time getting started. I choose to love and honor myself anyway. Even though I have this really great vision, and it is a beautiful vision of what I want, what I believe I've always wanted, I'm not taking the appropriate steps. I'm going to choose to love and honor myself anyway. Beautiful fantasy. It's really wonderful when I think about it. It is always something I've dreamed of. Something I've wanted for a long time. Something I've been putting off for a long time. Not allowing myself to do what is necessary. Not allowing myself to take appropriate action. Living in a fantasy is okay. For a while, it's okay. But the fantasy doesn't sustain me for a while after. Or I should say, the fantasy does not work after a while. So I need to take some action. But I'm having a hard time getting started. I've been fantasizing for so long that I hardly know where to get started now. I don't know where to start to get this going. Not sure what to do now. This vision in my mind is a wonderful vision. The action steps are deluding me. I don't know where to start. Maybe I just want the fantasy of what this is. Maybe it's safer to just live in fantasy. I have to deal with the reality of having this thing. Let's face it. Everything has its ups and downs. And maybe it'll be more hassle than it's worth. So maybe fantasy is the only way to go here for me. Fantasy is the place to stay in. Living from a fantasy seems to be the thing to do. Because sometimes reality can be harsh. I may not like what I find. What if I get stuck with it? What if I can't turn it back or return it? What if I'm stuck with this and I don't want it anymore? What if it's too much for me to handle? What if it starts to move so fast that I can't control it anymore? What if it's not as enjoyable as I'm hoping it will be? What if this was only supposed to be a fantasy? Am I doing the right thing? I'm not sure anymore. Fantasy seems the place to be. But the truth is, I still want this thing. The desire is still there. I still want to have this experience. But I'm having a hard time getting started. And instead of just living in fantasy, I think I'm gonna make a move and see where this goes. Take a deep breath and out. So if you need my help with any area of your life, like that you feel like is something is lacking or where things are not moving forward, my website is clutterclearinglifecoaching.com. That is clearing out the clutter, clearing out the unwanteds. That is the belief systems that keep us locked in place and prevents us from getting the life we want, striving for the life we want, having the life we want. It just keeps us locked in place of nothingness sometimes, or in an even worse place where you're just not in nothingness but everything is going wrong. So I will put my website in the description link. That is clutterclearinglifecoaching.com. Fill out my contact form, put your phone number, and I will call you as soon as I'm able to, and we will see if I'm a good fit for whatever your needs are, and we will take it from there. Until my next video, peace.